Hello Internet, welcome back to our look through Dario Argento's Three Mothers trilogy. We're on the second film now, but this is the third video, so please feel free, if you haven't, to check out the previous two. But today we're in 1980, we're 3 years on from the masterpiece that is Suspiria. We're in New York and we are with Inferno. And as any fan of Dario Argento learns to do, and I count myself as an enormous fan of Dario Argento, but every fan of Argento must learn to embrace frustration. Once Suspiria became the success it was, they were able to go, aha, well, this is actually part of a trilogy. There are three mothers taken from De Quincey's work. Things behind the scenes also get a little murkier and perhaps a little nastier. Daria Nicolodi claims that she came up with the original concept with this, and that Argento took her notes away and whilst in a hotel in New York produced the script from her notes. I don't know whether that's true or not. I suspect it's true. The title card at the start, story and script by Dario Argento, just leaves a slightly bad taste in my mouth. Couple that with the fact that this is actually the final movie that Mario Bava worked on, responsible for Bay of Blood, aka Twitch of the Death Nerve, which I might look at later on this channel, and many more. He did model work, he did second unit directing work for this, but it goes completely uncredited in this movie. Now, I'm not claiming that Argento steamrolled him on that, I just don't know. I'm just pointing out that this is the last film that Bava worked on, goes completely uncredited. We'll talk about it in later videos, but Nicolodi had a treatment and an idea for a third film. Apparently in the 80s they had a script ready to go for the third mother, and for whatever reason, the problems that they together, or caused between them, faced meant that Argento, with his next film Tenbrarum, ran back to the comfort zone of giallo and didn't really come back to finishing off the Three Mothers for 3 decades. I watched this film twice before doing this video, because I didn't want to do a video straight after I'd seen it hot on the heels of Suspiria, because pretty much any film seen hot on the heels of Suspiria is going to pale in comparison. I wanted to sort of let a couple of weeks pass, watch it again on its own terms, and it's a strange mix of frustration and fascination. As with an awful lot of Argento movies, he's got his eye on what he wants to put up on screen, and he's not always interested in the best performances or the most logical plots. And then you turn the corner and there's a magnificent scene, or a scene that looks absolutely stunningly beautiful in a way that only Argento can do, and then you forgive him everything, because please, I would rather have a cinematic landscape with Argento in it, frustrating as he can be, than not have anything with his eye, his strange take on things, and his oftentimes just beautiful violence. There are moments of the most clunking, awful, exposition-heavy dialogue that makes you want to shake the film, that then just transcends into the most glorious set pieces. Tonally, this film is trying to be on a par with its sister film, with Suspiria, but by necessity, by declaring this trilogy, Inferno is bogged down with an awful lot of the mechanics of having to make the trilogy work, and an awful lot of the time you can, how shall I put this, you can see the petticoats of this. You can see the script poking through. Right, we have to explain who the three mothers are. We have to explain what's going on. this film has to do some of the heavy lifting of Suspiria. Suspiria is allowed to be its own beast, completely unfettered by the mythology of the three mothers, or how it works. And just like the ballet dancers at the school in Suspiria, it's allowed to pirouette around and revel in its own universe. Inferno has to retcon the mythology onto Suspiria. Inferno has to do all of the work, and sometimes you can really see the machinery in a script, and sometimes the cogs and the gears really grind together horribly to get the job done as quickly as possible so we can get to the next magnificently beautiful scene. Inferno is the workhorse of the trilogy, and it hampers the movie because of it. It's not allowed to be as blithe and as free and as carefree as Suspiria is, and it's not allowed to be as frankly bonkers as Mother of Tears is. But because Mother of Tears is relatively unfettered as well, at least that can be fun. So Inferno's the middle child of the three in all ways, and it has got middle child syndrome. The scene right near the start of the movie with the flooded basement, where our protagonist has to go down and get her keys, and there's a corpse in there with her as well. Who cares, honestly, if it has nothing to do with any of the rest of the movie? That scene is absolutely superb. The underwater photography, right down to it just makes my skin crawl when her bare feet are patting on the rotting head of the corpse. The scene right in the middle of the movie in Rome, where I'm forgetting all of the characters' names, please forgive me, but where she's read about the three mothers, she's seen the book, and she's afraid to be alone and has someone else from her apartment block stay to keep her company, and the power keeps going out, and she's got the Verdi opera on, and the lights are going in and out with the music going in and out while he's at the fuse box, and that's as good as anything Argento's ever done. My favourite scene is when that sister, again her of the underwater swim, people are coming to her apartment, and she leaves and she's in another abandoned building, and she just sees behind that frosted glass the silhouette of the man that's stalking her, and there's a little chink in the glass, and it's back to her, and then back to the eyes. The figure bends down to look through the glass, and when we see it, it's the cat's eyes. That's masterful editing and shooting right there. I'd completely forgotten that. That's what Freud would call the uncanny of seeing the cat's eyes where you would expect the human eyes to be. That creeps me the hell out. I don't mind admitting it every time I see it, even when I know it's coming. That's freaky as fuck. Sorry, Keith Emerson, the soundtrack doesn't do it for me. Now, this is a matter of personal taste, and whilst I do applaud Argento for consciously wanting to go in a different direction and for this film to have its own look and its own sound, I miss Goblin. And I kind of shouldn't be saying this because Inferno has to be its own beast, and Argento's right to want to give it its own feel. I wonder if someone out there with the technical know-how, if Goblin's Suspiria score was played over Inferno, whether people wouldn't instantly add another 1 or even maybe 2 stars onto their reviews of Inferno. Because make no mistake, Goblin's score for Suspiria helps that film transcend itself. But he only really seems to cut loose right at the end, where he goes, the piece is called Made to Tenbrarum, and he just goes absolutely nuts. And where was that for the whole of the movie? It's a matter of personal taste for me, but Keith Emerson's score drags the movie down rather than gives it the lift that Goblin's score did. I want to read you something I wrote down. These are my notes. I don't normally read straight from my notes, so apologies, but this is the most efficient way of doing this. I can't decide if the narrative is broken or actually quite brilliant. Following a series of people who each uncover a portion of the mystery only to meet a grisly fate. So the downside to this is that there's no one to take you on the whole journey. And after a small procession of daring, curious and determined, intelligent women who all meet grisly fates, we've finally landed with Mark as a hero, and he's kind of a wet blanket. I don't like Mark. I wonder if there's some sort of commentary there that all of these fiercely intelligent, curious, go-getting women meet grisly ends, and this blonde, dopey, frankly idiot stumbles around at the end, does absolutely nothing, contributes absolutely nothing to the Inferno of the title and the overthrowing of Mater Tenbrarum, and then runs out of the exploding building at the end. I've said he's possibly the most ineffectual protagonist in any film, clueless, lacking in motivation, insight or curiosity. The film, and especially the climax, seem to happen around him without him providing any contribution whatsoever. That said, the more I think about it, the more I think this disjointed series of stuff happening with each protagonist clueless to the events of the picture as a whole kind of more closely represents real life than this idea of the hero's journey that we've been taught through the language of cinema to accept. This storytelling idea, we've sort of come to accept that as the proper model of storytelling. So maybe this crazy stop-start, scratchy record, clunky narrative is actually quite brilliant, like, and we're just not used to seeing stories told like that. Maybe it's Argento not being so concerned with the fidelity of the whole as he is with how beautiful he can make each section of the film look. I've written, and again, this is the frustrating nature of Inferno. Was he aiming for something that hadn't been done before, or is it just a really clunky script, or is it both? Who knows? Mater Tenbrarum, her reveal at the end, is one of the highlights of the film. The secret rooms beneath the building, the old man, and the reveal that his nurse is actually one of the mothers, the youngest mother, the most vicious of the mothers. And then she kind of doesn't do anything, and he had to have known that when she smashes through the mirror and is the personification of death, that looks like a Halloween costume rather than decent film makeup effect, didn't he? Why was he okay with that? Because this ending does seem very operatic, but then it's just a really bad rubber skeleton suit, and then the building's on fire and she just seems to give up. I don't know. I don't know. The bit of mythology that this film adds that I really dig is the architect Villari, the guy who met the three mothers in London and was commissioned to design and build 3 buildings for them, one in Germany, one in New York, and one in Rome. And from these centres they ruled the world and spread their evil out. Do you know what it reminds me of? Le Marchand, the toy maker, and especially Hellraiser Bloodlines, where we see him commissioned to make the Lament configuration box that opens the gates to hell. I always dug all of that Le Marchand stuff, and I dig all of this Villari stuff as well. I think it's a great little story, and it's a great hook to hang a trilogy off. The trouble is, it's not in Suspiria and Inferno, we don't see these mothers ruling anything from these buildings, or even really doing anything. It's only Mater Lacrimarum in Mother of Tears who seems to do anything at all with a view to ruling the world or ruining the world. And we'll look at the third and final film in the trilogy, The Mother of Tears, and what Mater Lacrimarum does in the next video. And I'll give you a hint. I thought Mother of Tears was a hell of a lot of fun, but as with almost every Argento movie, it is not without significant problems.